Attention all F1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. Buckle up, things got heated at the Baku sprint race last weekend. Red Bull driver Max Verstappen and Mercedes George Russell had a fiery exchange after they clashed during the race, with Verstappen confronting Russell and the cameras picking up every word. But who was in the wrong for the incident? Was it Russell, who tried to get down the inside of Verstappen and locked up his front left tyre, causing contact at turn 2? Or was Verstappen justified in his anger? Let's dive into the drama and find out what really happened. This whole drama started when Max Verstappen and George Russell were caught having a heated argument after the 17-lap sprint race in Baku. Max was clearly fuming after the pair had clashed during the race, with the cameras picking up Verstappen trying to explain the incident and George being apologetic. It became clear that George did not really want any part of the conversation, as he just decided to walk away. But Max was not finished, and it appears that as George was walking away, Max called George a dickhead. Drivers get frustrated all the time, but it's rare that you see one driver confront another just like that. But it is not surprising considering Max has a history of being hot-headed, having previously confronted Esteban Ocon for an on-track incident after the race. So what sparked this incident between the two? In Baku, there's always chaos on the first lap of the race. When you put that many F1 drivers that close to each other on a street circuit, it's pretty much impossible for the race to not have some contact early on. That was the case at the start of the sprint on Saturday. After George Russell had gotten off to a brilliant start, the reigning F1 World Champion Max Verstappen had to go into defensive mode, not something he's used to nowadays. The pair went into turn 2 neck and neck, with slight contact made as Verstappen held his place. By the time they got down to turn 3, George had pulled alongside Max again and held the inside line for the corner. As they exited the corner, contact was made between Max and Russell, which allowed the Mercedes driver to go through. The contact was not major and Verstappen got the position back quite quickly thanks to the safety car. But Max was not happy about the contact, and this is why he confronted George after the sprint race. So who was actually in the wrong for this incident? The contact between Max and George was really two separate incidents. First corner and turn 2, and then again at turn 3. The pair came very close at turn 1, with Max getting incredibly close to the wall. The turn 2 incident is pretty simple to put the blame down on one man, George Russell. In an attempt to get down the inside of Max, George actually locked up his front left tyre. This was hard to see during the race, but it was visible looking back at the driver camera of the Brit. The Mercedes therefore could not turn enough and caused the contact at turn 2. It was after this contact at turn 2 that most of the damage happened to Max's car. Turn 3 is a little bit more difficult to figure out. There was not a huge amount of visible contact between the two cars at the corner when George actually made the pass on the Red Bull. But taking a look back, George just about leaves enough space for Verstappen. It is incredibly tight racing from both, but George just about got ahead before going into that corner and just barely gave him space. So it is more likely that the racing at turn 3 was just an elbows out overtake, something Verstappen is very familiar with. However, Max is definitely justified in being angry at George for the incident at turn 2. Russell knew he was in the wrong because he apologised after the race. Taking a look back at the footage shows that while Max lost his temper, it was because George ran into him. Max explained his frustrations at the incident after the sprint race. The reigning F1 World Champion said, "I just don't understand why you need to take so much risk on lap 1. Understeering into my side pod created a hole. We all have cold tyres, it's all easy to lock up." The Dutchman was also not happy with George's defense of the incident. Verstappen added, "His beautiful way of explaining, 'Oh mate, locked up, look at the onboard.' It doesn't make sense. It's fine, we still got P3, got some good points, but it is what it is." When asked about the damage, Max made it clear that it was not the wall that caused damage to his Red Bull. Verstappen said, "Not the wall, just turn 2. I think where he tapped me. There's a hole in the side pod. It doesn't look great, but it is what it is now and we'll focus on tomorrow." Things got even spicier when Max talked to The Telegraph about the incident. He said, "You can also attack me without driving into my car. Oh, defending on the outside is not allowed because Princess George is sitting there?" While the F1 media has lamented Max for his outbursts about the incident, there's no denying that on the track, contact was Russell's fault. However, you might have thought Max would be a little bit more careful with what he is saying considering his track record. Max Verstappen has a reputation for getting his elbows out, and it's often led to contact. In fact, Max might be the most aggressive driver in F1. There are lots of examples of Verstappen pushing his car down the inside, trying to force an overtake and creating contact with another car. So maybe he could have been a little bit more sympathetic to George, especially considering the contact did not massively alter Verstappen's race. George Russell is certainly one of the calmer drivers on the grid, and he explained the incident to Sky Sports. Russell said, "I was on the inside and it was quite surprising that he was resisting it so much. I'm here to fight, and the move was. Ever since we're in go-karts at the age of 8, you're on the inside of a corner at the apex is your corner, and if you're trying to hold on the outside, you know the risk you're taking." The Mercedes driver summed it up quite nicely, saying, "If the roles were reversed, I'm sure he would have done exactly the same. It's part of racing. We'll move on, we're big boys and it's Formula 1. But George did have more to say, as he was also asked about the conversation that happened between the pair after the sprint race. Russell added, "We're all here to fight. We're not here to crash into each other, but that's racing sometimes when you're pushing the limits." He went on to say, "He's got a lot more to lose than me. He just had to wait one lap and he would have been back past with the speed they have. I don't really know what more to say. I was quite surprised and wasn't expecting this reaction afterwards." With this sort of incident, usually the drivers would just move on from where they are now. However, it seems like Max is planning on holding a grudge against George for the rest of the season. One of the things that Max said after the race was, "Expect the same next time." Every F1 fan knows that Max Verstappen likes to get his elbows out in the corners, no matter who he's racing alongside him. But by the sounds of it, he plans on being particularly focused on George Russell. Max has shown he can hold a grudge in the past, so this might be a rivalry that you want to look out for later in the season. However, the thing that will likely cause this beef to cool down is that Max and George will rarely be fighting for the same bit of track, considering the pace advantage of the Red Bull. While his post-race comments focused on George Russell, some of the speculation is that Verstappen was very unhappy about being beaten by his teammate Sergio Perez in the race on Sunday. In fact, a former F1 race winner has claimed that Verstappen's side of the garage want to replace Sergio already. Former Jordan and Williams driver Ralf Schumacher has claimed that Max wants a new teammate after the race in Baku. On his column for Sky Sports, Schumacher said, "From my point of view, it's clear that Verstappen's side wants a new teammate. I hear these rumours everywhere." Ralf would go on to explain this point further. Schumacher said, "I see it as a problem that Perez knows his time at Red Bull Racing is coming to an end. He's fighting for his chance to play at the front, to win, to have a go at the title. That is why Sergio is now becoming more selfish. As far as selfishness goes, Max Verstappen cannot complain. Max is doing very well. He's rightly the number one in the team, but he's also clearly marking his territory." His comments make a little bit more sense when you go back and listen to what Red Bull team boss Christian Horner said after the race last Sunday. While Sergio Perez seems to be gunning for the driver's title, Red Bull are still favouring Max quite clearly. As Max Verstappen was on his way to Parc Fermé at the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner got on his team radio and said, "Well done, Max. Checo got a little lucky with the safety car there, but it's a long season and very good points today. Great team result, well done." I mean, that certainly sounds like Christian Horner saying that the only reason Sergio Perez won the race was because of the safety car. Not the best way to talk about one of your drivers after they'd comfortably driven to a race win and helped the team secure another one too. Checo cannot be happy to hear that message, so it looks like Max Verstappen might have pissed off two different drivers this weekend. So what do you think? Was Max Verstappen's reaction over the top? And could we see a rivalry between Verstappen and a different Mercedes this season? Why not put your thoughts in the comments below? While you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.